Hey everyone, I'm the Canadian Lad, and today I'm gonna reveal 13 hidden details from Squid Game Season 2 that I can bet you haven't noticed before. So without any further ado, let's begin. Number 1. In episode 3, we see Gi-han re-entering the game with a new set of players. Notice the guards in pink aren't carrying any weapons before the first game takes place. Yes, they did the same in Season 1 as well. It's a smart move by the big bosses to make the players feel safe and gain their trust. But as soon as the red light, green light game goes down and chaos breaks loose with tons of deaths, that's when the pink guards arrive at the lobby with their guns every time. It's a neat little detail that stays consistent across both seasons. Number 2. During the mingle game, as soon as the number 2 is called out, notice the frontman wastes no time grabbing Jungbae, Gi-han's best friend, even going as far as killing someone in the room to ensure their survival. Not only that, while rushing to get inside the room, he looks back to make sure Jungbae is okay and ensures Jungbae enters the room safely before he does. Now we know the frontman was never gonna get killed, right? That means he made all of these efforts to keep Jungbae alive. That's why he was so quick to grab him at the start of the round. And in episode 7, we finally understand why the frontman did that. The frontman was keeping Jungbae alive on purpose, so that he can kill him later in front of Gi-han, which essentially breaks Gi-han from the inside. Since the moment the frontman stepped into the game, all he was trying to do was break Gi-han from the inside. Number 3. When the manager reveals that players can vote to leave the game after each round, Gi-han asks for reconfirmation and immediately looks at the CCTV camera behind him.
한 게임만 하고 나가도 상금을 받을 수 있다는 말인가요?
그렇습니다.
Now what's fascinating to me is that the frontman was already keeping an eye on Gi-han through that exact camera. Notice how the camera angles and screens stay the same. It's clear the frontman was precisely looking at Gi-han the entire time. This foreshadows how the frontman will eventually infiltrate the game and attempt to sabotage Gi-han from within. Number 4. When Junho tells Captain Park that they have a tracker planted on Gi-han, helping them locate the island, notice as soon as Captain Park hears it, he immediately looks down and starts rotating a button. Now this can only mean one thing: he's sending a signal to the frontman. The fact that Captain Park rescued Junho, and despite 2 years of searching, they still haven't found that island, says a lot. How big do you think the Korean Sea is that they can't spot an uncharted island in 2 years? The truth is, Park has been deliberately sending Junho off course the whole time. And notice when Junho says he will give up searching for the island, Captain Park gets worried for a second.
그래서 이제 그만하려고요.
This is because if Junho really does quit searching for the island, that would mean Captain Park can no longer keep an eye on Junho, and Junho might actually find the island that way. And that's why Park tries to push back Junho into keeping the search going.
이래놓고 또 일주일 뒤에 다시 오겠지?
Number 5. Season 2 gives us a much closer look at the pink guards. Unlike Season 1, where their masks kept them completely mysterious, here we see more of their world, even showing how they're being forced into these roles as well. It turns out, just like the players drowning in debt, the pink guards are also in it for the money. This season gives them more depth, making them feel more human compared to the first season. That's why this time around, we catch glimpses of their faces peeking through their masks, therefore humanizing them. Number 6. In the red light, green light game, when everyone realizes that lives are truly at stake and players genuinely die for breaking the rules, notice how the son immediately jumps into action to protect his mother when green light is called. He quickly shields her, putting himself in front. But later, during the mingle game, the same son abandons her. This small detail highlights how drastically human behavior can change when there's a huge amount of money at stake. Although later he regrets leaving his mother behind, but the fact remains that he did abandon her at that moment. Number 7. In episode 7, when Gi-han tells the team that they should fight the creators of the game instead of fighting each other, Daeho asks this.
그놈들이 어디 있는데요?
Gi-han then looks up and says that the bosses are the ones watching them through the cameras from above.
저 위, 계단 위쪽에 이 게임을 컨트롤하는 놈들과 시설이 있어요.
But notice, while everyone looks up along with Gi-han, Young Il, aka the frontman, never looks up. Another great detail implying he doesn't need to look up because he himself is one of the main bosses from upstairs. Number 8. During the spinning top game, the frontman fails 3 consecutive times, and then on the 4th attempt he succeeds. Now notice, during the first 3 attempts, he tried it with his right hand, but on the final attempt, he threw the spinning top with his left hand and succeeded. This detail is actually a clever callback to Season 1, where we learned that the front frontman is left-handed. Number 9. During the six-legged game, the frontman stays calm and collected, actually watching the players and seeming to enjoy their successes. It's almost as if he genuinely wants the players to do well. On the other hand, it's the VIPs who are the real villains, constantly pushing to raise the stakes and cause more casualties. It was them who forced the frontman to turn off the lights during the glass stepping stone game, when one of the players had figured out how to tell the glasses apart. Number 10. As each game goes, the players slowly become numb to the deaths around them. In the first round, they're terrified. By the second, they have calmed down. But by the third round, they're stepping over blood, leaving bloody footprints on the floor, all while joking and smiling. This slow shift in human nature is brilliantly captured in this season. And of course, huge credits to director Dong-Hyuk Kwang for pulling it off so effectively. Number 11. When player 246, the father with the sick daughter, is killed, notice we never see his body fall to the ground. Also, the guard who shoots him initially aims at his heart, but when the shot is fired, the gun is pointed lower, indicating this is probably Noel trying to protect player 246 by shooting him in a non-lethal area. And since we know that they harvest the organs of players who are still barely alive, so it's very likely that in Season 3, we will probably see Noel infiltrating this room and rescuing player 246. Which brings me to my next detail, number 12. I believe Kang Se-byuk from Season 1 and Kang Noel from this season might be connected in some way. They're both North Korean defectors, but there's more. If you look at the meanings of their names, it suggests something deeper. Se-byuk means dawn, and Noel means sunrise in Korean. Now, this could be a coincidence, but I don't think director Dong-Hyuk Kwang would do that, because it's pretty common in Korea for siblings to have names based on similar theme or concept. So in Season 3, we might discover that Kang Se-byuk and Kang No-woo are actually sisters. And please take this with a grain of salt, this is just my personal theory. Number 13. In Episode 6, when one of the trapdoors explodes, notice Captain Park doesn't flinch at all, while the other two standing next to him are visibly startled by the loud noise. Another hidden clue that Captain Park is evil and knew what's coming. Big shout out to my friend Paul from Heavy Spoilers for spotting this. To be honest, Season 2 may not be as good as Season 1, but it was still very solid. The main problem with Season 2 is its predictability. Let me explain what I mean. Having the frontman actively participating in the game, while we the audience already know who he is, removes a lot of the suspense. We know he's gonna survive, no matter how tough the game gets. So as a writer, you need to come up with clever ways for him to survive, instead of relying on simple twists like in Season 1, where Il-nam turned out to be the mastermind behind it all. We are also always expecting the frontman to betray Gi-hun at some point, since he's clearly the villain. That's why the timing and the manner of this betrayal need to be really creative, which limits the writer's options here. But despite these challenges, director and writer Dong-Hyuk Kwang has done a fantastic job. For instance, when the frontman kills another player to protect Jung-bae, or when he votes to stop the game at a moment where the audience expects a twist, these are really well-written scenes. In fact, the frontman is probably the best written character in the show so far. One example is when the mother is abandoned by her son and the frontman calls it out, the mother raises her voice and shouts at the frontman, all while he quietly listens and then apologizes.
남들한테 당하면 당했지 어디 가서 남들한테 해코지는 한 번도 한 적이 없습니다. 말씀 함부로 하지 마세요.
죄송합니다. 그런 뜻은 아니었습니다.
This is brilliant writing, because on one hand, the frontman is speaking the truth with a calm and collective voice, but on the other, the false assumption and the emotional response is being spoken out loudly. This shows that real power remains in the shadows. It's the powerless who make the most noise and get burned by the sun. The frontman really showed Gi-hun this season that perhaps the main villain in this story is people's very own greed. He literally changed the rules of the game, giving players multiple opportunities to leave the game, and yet they somehow end up staying. This was the lesson frontman wanted to teach Gi-hun. As long as people don't change, the game will continue. Now, only time will tell whether Gi-hun will win this bet against the frontman, just like he did against Il-nam. And with that, I'm the Canadian lad. I'll see you lads in the next one.